everybody. Thanks for your patience. I know there were some buses coming a little late, but we're here now. We can get started now. So, welcome to Accepted Students Day for 2023 for the 3D Animation and Visual Effects Department. Thank you for coming today, checking us out, and congratulations on being accepted to SVA. That's really exciting. I'm excited for you. It must mean you're all talented and good people. So it's nice to be in a room full of talented and good people. So today I'm gonna spend a little time telling you more about who we are. I'm sure you've read a bit, you've done your research, but we'll be able to answer some questions, give you a little more information today. And the first thing I wanted to address is a little history. So we are the 3D Animation and Visual Effects Department starting in fall 2023. We are currently the Computer Art Department. So our full title is Computer Art, Computer Animation, and Visual Effects. So if you've seen that around, that's still us. That's us. But we are changing our name next year to 3D Animation and Visual Effects. It's just more succinct, more clear of who we are, what we do. So it feels like a good change to us. But the Computer Art Department in fall 2023 is the 30th anniversary. So in a way, you're our 30th class, and in another way, you're our first class. You can decide if you want to be founding students of 3D animation and visual effects, or if you want to be the 30th anniversary class. We'll let you decide. Either way, we're happy to have you join us. But I do point this out because there might be times during this talk where I say computer art. I'm talking about us. There might be some slides you'll see where it says computer art. That's still us. But we are very aware that everyone uses computers in their art now, so we can drop that and talk more specifically about who we are. Speaking of talking about specifically who we are, my name is Jimmy Calhoun. I'm the chair of the program. So like I said, I'm here to answer questions, give you more information. This is my contact information. If you have questions or you want to chat, hopefully we answer all those questions today, but if we don't, if later this week you're like, oh, I wish I'd asked this, shoot me an email. I will definitely get back to you. It's a busy time of year. I might be slow at getting back to you, but I promise I will answer your questions and get back to you. So as the chair of the program, it's my job to ensure that your experience here meets the standards that we set. I think you're going to see from today's presentation that we have high standards. I hope you'll see that. But my job here is also to bring people together, create a community and a learning experience and opportunity for everyone involved that starts with all of you now. Before you even get here, it continues throughout the rest of everyone's lives. Our alumni are a big part of who we are, and we'll talk a bit more about that today as well. So first, let's get to the specifics of our program. Obviously, as students, you're going to be required to meet certain criteria. The BFA degree is a collection of all these credits, primarily studio art, but obviously you'll have 30 credits of humanities, 15 credits of art history as well, and 3 more miscellaneous credits that I'm sure most of you will use for studio art classes. But even the humanities and art histories classes at SVA are great classes, a lot of great information and content, a wonderful learning opportunity. But I can only primarily speak for the studio art classes, which is a very production-based curriculum. So we start you off in storytelling. We definitely teach concept art, obviously 3D animation, which is character animation, modeling, rigging, lighting, texturing, compositing, effects animation. We have opportunities for you to learn all the parts of the pipeline of 3D animation and visual effects. And everyone is required to touch everything at least once, and then you can also start specializing in your 3rd year and really get focused in as you choose electives and further your independent studies as well. But I do want to talk a lot about the first year today because that's what you're all joining us for next year. So our first year, your first year at SVA will include these courses. Imaging Tools and Workflows is a class just to make sure we're all on the same page as far as the basics of what you need to know to create art in the computer, and that's going to mostly be focused on Adobe, making sure that everyone can use Photoshop and Illustrator correctly. I'm sure most of you have used it, and I bet a lot of you use it well, but we might be able to correct bad habits, or if you're a great user of those software, we can push you further and challenge you to make your art even stronger. Everyone will have a full year of 3D animation pipeline. That's 1 and 2. So we start right away. First year, you'll start learning Maya. That's the main 3D software that we focus on in our department. We have other software, and we're very open to people exploring and trying different things, but the majority of your required courses are going to be focused with Autodesk Maya. And that's, just leaning into the industry standard, especially here in New York. Most studios really focus on Maya. It's fairly common software throughout the industry. You'll also learn more about digital tools and techniques, which is very focused on editing. So learning to shoot digital video, how you edit that, and work with cameras and lighting and that sort of thing. Narrative workshop. So it is a very story-based curriculum that we have. We end the 4 years with a thesis film that is a story-based narrative project for the most part. We do have some students who create games, students who create interactive projects, installations, but the majority of our students are creating narrative films in their 4th year for their thesis. So we want to make sure you all know how to tell a good story. Drawing is important, so you'll have a full year of drawing in your freshman year, as well as modern art history, writing, literature, and thinking. So that's kind of on page, that's what your first year looks like. I can show you a little bit of the work that comes from those classes as well. So these are examples from the first semester in the freshman year, when students build upon their skills to digitally create images while exploring visual storytelling. So these are done in all those classes that I just spoke about. You can also see that our students learn about digital photography, how to manipulate those images. Learning about photography and camera is very vital to the foundation of understanding the basics of computer-generated imagery, visual effects, compositing, all the things that we do. Exploring color, lighting, composition, how that relates narratively as well is very important. I'm going to show you a video now from the second semester of the first year that shows you how students start learning about digital video and how to manipulate that footage. For those of you who are live streaming at home, you won't hear the audio on this, but I promise you we're still here. Your computers are working. But let's check this out.
Wipe it down. Wipe it down.
Which is great. That's really good work for a first-year student. What I really love is when they get the parents involved. So you may be sitting here with your student today thinking, oh, I'm done after this, I'm walking away after this, but no, they might come back and bug you. We had a 4th-year student today whose mother was the main subject of her thesis film and was the actor in her film playing her mother. So, yeah, so that is some really good information about our first year and showing you what you do with those tools. But then, as I said, you'll also start learning 3D techniques. So this is some of the Maya work from our freshman students as well. So if the first year were a video game, when you completed it, I think the credits cinematic might look something like this. then that's it. You're done. You walk away and you're really good to go. That's from our second year student Kai. They made that film, and I was like, oh, I gotta show that. You gotta let me have that. So they were kind enough to let us use that. So yeah, after that first year, you have a solid foundation. I like to think of our 4 years, the first year being like planting a seed, like I said, building a foundation. The second year is when you get to experiment and push yourself further, growing that foundation more solid. And then in the third year, you start to hone your craft a little more solidly. You really learn who you are as an artist even more. You get to focus in and decide what you love about the pipeline. Take elective classes that help you understand further those specific areas of the work. And then your fourth year is when you prove to everyone what you can do and continue learning, because we're all lifelong learners. We're always learning. But throughout your 3 years, these are some of the courses and topics that you will continue to push yourself in and learn from. There's a lot of words and concepts and aspects to the CG pipeline and the visual effects pipeline that can get confusing. If you're here with us in person today, you picked up a breakdown of the pipeline, I hope, from the lobby. If you didn't, you can get it afterwards. But this is done by one of our instructors and colleagues, Oliver Allison, and he's illustrated for you the way that you can sort of visualize production of these films. So we start in pre-production, where we have an idea and a story. You storyboard that out and you start designing it, and you create an animatic, which is an early version of your film timed out. You're taking the storyboards and timing that out in a timeline. And then you go into the production rules. So in pre-production, you're doing layout, research and look development, which you've probably already started before this point. Modeling and surfacing, rigging. Rigging is the idea of adding a skeleton to those models that you've created so you can animate them. You're adding the visual effects, so that's going to be your smoke, your liquid. You have to light these things. Rendering is when it all comes together and the final look and feel of your piece comes together. As you move into post-production, where you're compositing, we also have real-time rendering now, which throws a wrench into this whole pipeline. And in compositing, you're also doing match move, roto, matte painting. Some of these things are happening, especially if it's a live action VFX film. Some of these things are happening before this. So as much as we want this to be a linear process, it can be confusing, and that is something that you will learn here over your 4 years, and you'll get a better understanding. But this gives you an introduction to those ideas if you're unfamiliar. Some of you might be very familiar with these thoughts. And all of this work is being done at our facility. You will have a chance today to come visit after this and look at our classrooms and our production studios. We have 9 computer classrooms. We have 4 free-time computer labs where students can come outside of class and work. We have a production studio, which includes a green screen setup, motion capture. We have a sound recording studio, color grading suite. So we have all the tools that you need. We even are getting more into virtual production. We have a virtual camera. We can start taking these things that you're learning, and what we always want to do is make sure you can see how this can be done professionally and that you can visualize yourself in a studio doing these things. So everything we're teaching you is taught to you with that in mind. Here's some images of those spaces. Again, you'll have a chance if you're here with us today to come see. So this is some of our production studios. Here are the average classroom, where you have the instructor sitting in the middle with the students along the side. We have a lot of equipment that our students can check out, including a lot of Nikon and Blackmagic cameras, tripods, lighting equipment. We have a data center, which includes our render farm. So students have all the power they need to do the work that they're doing. As I mentioned, we want you to understand that you can do this professionally and how this is done professionally. Helping us with that is our faculty members. We have over 70 adjunct faculty members. They're all working professionals. They're actively working in the industry. Some of them will come and teach a class in the morning and then go to work after. Some of them will come on their lunch break to teach. A lot of them will come in the evening after their workday is done. So we do have a lot of evening classes, and including some weekend classes. 99.9% of our classes are completely back in person. We do have a couple studio electives here and there that you might choose, and workshops that are done online. And the reason that we're still doing those online is because those instructors are working at places like Disney and Pixar, and so they're on the West Coast, and that gives us access to them. But none of our required classes are online. All of our required classes are back in person. If you're choosing an online class, you're making that choice. And there's our students. We have over 350 students from around the world. They participate in lead student clubs. All these images here represent our student clubs, which includes our Women in Animation Club, which is a national organization, maybe an international organization, whose goal is to make sure that by 2025 that there is gender parity 50-50 with men, women, and other underrepresented genders within the industry. So we see that already in our students. We have 70% female students. So it's important to us that we make sure that industry reflects that as well. So that's an important organization for us. Other clubs, again, these are student-ran clubs. They've come up with these clubs. They run them themselves. We have the Mars Club, which is mentoring, advice, relationship services. We have the 3D Animation Club, the Visual Effects Club, and the 3D Modeling Club. Some of our students are here today. They're going to talk after I shut up, and you can ask them all about it. Some of the students are active participants or leaders in those clubs. Beyond the classroom, we have other opportunities for you to learn outside of your classes. So that can include SVA destinations courses. We have classes you can sign up for that go to LA. We have a class in the summer that goes to the Cannes Film Festival. So those are options for you to sign up for. We also have studios who come here. So if you're not traveling, if that's not something you're going to do, that's okay too. We have studios who visit us. So it's very common for Pixar, Disney, like MPC, Technicolor, Blue Sky Studios. Oh, Blue Sky Studios is no longer. I should have deleted that. I'm sorry. But Aardman, Nickelodeon, we have a lot of studios who come and talk to our students. And we also have the After School Alumni Film Festival, which happens in September. So that's an opportunity here at this theater where we screen films, new films, and our alumni who worked on those films will come and talk and do panel discussions. So it's a really great opportunity for our current students to learn from our former students. I mentioned in the fourth year, our students do usually a thesis film, a thesis project of some kind. Many of those have gone on to a lot of different film festivals. We've had winners of the Student Academy Award, winners of the College Television Awards, which is the Student Emmys. We are really proud of the work that they do, and other people are proud of it too. And so that makes us even more proud. Our students also go on to do, our students do internships while they're here as students. So this is representative of some of our students in the past who have done internships most often between either their second and third year, or between the third and fourth year. They'll do these internships where they go for the summer. We also have students who actively intern during the fall and spring semesters. Sometimes that's here in New York. We have students this year who interned at Frame Store Studios in New York while they were studying. We had one student who was interning for DreamWorks remotely, so she was interning with DreamWorks while finishing her thesis film this year. So we have a lot of opportunities. We encourage our students to find these opportunities, and we help support them in getting them, and support them while they're doing them too. And it's great because then they go and they learn from these artists in the industry, and then they come back the next year and they spread that to their peers in the classroom. So it's great for everyone. I've talked about our alumni a lot. Once our students graduate, they remain an important part of our community. Our alumni work at a lot of great studios, and some of them work independently, create their own work as well. Um, Again, it's just a great network of people from SVA that our current students have abilities to reach out to, access. Some of them will come back and do workshops, guest lectures, they'll review the thesis work. It's a really good connection that we have with our alumni. But I do want to introduce you all to some of our current students today. So I am going to slowly transition out of this and into our student panel. Before they come up, I'm going to show you some of the work that they've been doing as students. So I have four students who are going to join us up here, and I'm going to show you their reels right now, and then they'll come up. So the first one is Daria Delmonico. Daria is a third-year student. She's one of the leaders of VASA, and she'll tell you more about that as well. Next, I'm going to show you the work of Sajin Lee. She's also a third-year student. Sajin actually illustrated a mural for us in our department. So when you're on the second floor of our department today, if you see the big banner in the front hallway, that's Sajin's work. Next, I'm going to show you one of our second-year students, Asar Johnson's work.
See what the finish line awaits. I won't
One of the things that I love about all these reels, but that ASARS really shows too, is our students do a lot of classwork. They do a lot of personal projects to continue building themselves up. And then they also work on other students' projects with them. So a lot of our fourth year students, when they're doing their thesis, will get the second and third year students to help them out. And it gives them an opportunity to learn and grow. And it's just such a good community vibe and a great way that they build each other up. The next and last reel for you to see is Brittany Rivera. Brittany is a fourth year student and just finished her thesis, and we screened it here last week, this week. It was beautiful. So here's Brittany's reel. So I'm going to invite them up. They're going to bring some chairs over to the center. Brittany's actually going to lead this conversation. I convinced her last minute. I didn't even have to convince her. I was like, Brittany, you're doing this. She's amazing. She's great. So she'll start us off with a few questions that she's prepared that she thinks that might interest all of you. And then we'll open it up to questions from all of you as well. We have a couple representatives from admissions here with mics, so if you raise your hand when you have a question, they can come with the mics, and it should be a good conversation. Oscar, if you want to scoot that just a little forward, the back feet on the white. But yeah, I'm gonna stop talking and hand it over to them. Welcome our students.
Hola. All right, welcome everyone. I'm glad that you guys are here. My name is Brittany, like Jimmy mentioned, and I have some questions prepared for our guest speakers here. But after like 5 questions, I think we're gonna open up to you guys. So get those brains thinking to get some questions down. So first question I have for you guys is, what are your names, your year, and where are you guys from? Like, where are you guys commuters? And if you came from far away, just tell us where. So I'll go first just to ease it. My name is Brittany Rivera. I am a senior, and I am from Brooklyn, New York, and I have been commuting to SVA all 4 years I've been here.
Hi, my name is Daria Delmonico. I'm a junior, and I'm from Long Island, New York, and I live in the dorms.
Hello, my name is Asar Johnson. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and I'm also a commuter from Brooklyn.
Hi, my name is Sajin Lee. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I'm a junior, and currently I live in the 23rd Street, and I'm an RA there. So there would be where most of you guys will living in next year as a freshman, so you guys will see me.
Oh, sorry, and wait.
You guys can just share it.
Okay, I forgot to say, I'm a second year, my bad.
You good? Okay, cool. The next question I have for you guys is just like your experiences as students. So earlier we were talking about clubs and all the stuff that we were part of. So are you guys part of any clubs at SVA?
Yeah, I can start. So in our department, I've participated in the Mars Club, which is our mentoring and relationship service club, where you can get paired up with upperclassmen. So I was paired up with upperclassmen my freshman and sophomore year, and I've been really fortunate to be able to mentor a freshman this year. I'm also, Jimmy mentioned, a part of VASA. You might have seen me at the table at Pier 60 before. So my responsibility is actually to help manage all of the clubs. So it's really wonderful to be able to see all of the accomplishments and all of the events that our like 30 plus clubs plan. Yeah.
I'm the president for the, is my mic on? So I'm one of the presidents for the 3D Animation Club. I started becoming the leader for that this year. I was really involved with it last year. The 3D Animation Club gives you a lot of demos from people in the industry, and also you get to meet a lot of people who's already done work. So last year we had somebody who worked on Arcane who came from Fortiche. This year we had somebody who worked on Spider-Verse. We had somebody from PsyOp. And we had a person who worked on Puss in Boots, and we bring them in for talks to the students so everybody can kind of see what they would be looking for when they get into the industry, and you get to ask them questions and, hear about their journeys. And then we also give demos to teach some parts of animation and rigging and other stuff that you might need going forward. And I think it's really helpful to kind of interact with the clubs as much as you can, because you can learn a lot of stuff from the seniors and just your upperclassmen that you might not get immediately just on your regular path. And also the Mars Club, I'm not the leader for that, but I have been picking from mentors. They basically provide you with a mentor every year, and the mentor will be a junior or a senior who will meet up with you every week or 2 weeks, and they can kind of give you tips based on what you're looking for. And I found that really helpful for the 2 years I've been.
I'm one of the leaders of the Mars Club, but Daria and Sarah explained it well. It's a great way to connect with upperclassmen, and we also host demos, and we bring in guest speakers like Daniela, who worked on Hamza thesis film, which won the Student Academy Award, and she's currently at Pixar, and she came to talk and answer questions from our students.
Yeah, so those are just a couple of the clubs. I'm 3D Modeling Club co-leader, so that means that I organize events particularly about 3D modeling. So we had Jonathan Lin come in last semester, and he works at a plethora of places, and he just told us how to do models correctly and get that eye building, because sometimes it's a little difficult to get that eye. I'm also vice president of La Bodega, which is our Latinx kind of student union here. So the president is Aleida Ortiz. So together we work to get to create events so that the Latino community here at SVA can feel identified with ourselves. And in addition to all of that, we all kind of work together. So I've been recently, as 3D Modeling Club leader, working with Women in Animation Club, and we're gonna have an industry portfolio mixer. So we're having people from a bunch of companies in the area come in physically in person and talk to students. We're gonna show them the reels that we just showed you there, and they're gonna get critiqued on. And then you get that real industry feedback so that you can become a better artist and get ready for the real world out there. All right. My next question for you guys is, have any of you guys had any work experience or internships or preparation for internships that you would like to share with people today?
Yeah, I've been really lucky since my freshman year to be able to work on a couple thesis films, and I've learned a lot from the upperclassmen being able to work on them. And it's also just really fun to be able to see your name in the credits when the thesis film screening comes up. But yeah, it's really awesome to be able to help.
Oh, so I started with 2 years while I was in high school, I worked for an internship called the Animation Project, and I worked there for 2 to 3 years before coming here, where they taught me the basics of Maya and Nuke and some other things. And this summer, I am going to intern at Pixar. So, yes. And I'm going there for the Pixar undergraduate program, where you learn all of the pipeline, and you kind of, you learn the Pixar way of modeling, rigging, everything but animation actually, but you learn every other part and you kind of go in depth with that. But for animation, I've also, and character modeling, I've worked on 6 or 7 thesis films for this year, and that experience also gives you a lot. The animation tips that you'll get from working on those thesis films will tell you a lot of stuff that you might not, again, learn just from class alone. So you get to learn from the upperclassmen through working on the thesis films how to work in a production setup and how to actually prepare yourself for the film that you're gonna have to make a few years later. So yeah.
I've also worked on a student thesis film for seniors, but as you guys might have seen in my demo reel, I love to draw as much as I love to work on computer. So I had opportunities to work on master's students' film students' thesis film as a storyboard artist, and yeah, I guess there's a lot more opportunities, not only just for 3D and visual effects, but also on like art, like 2D art side aspect.
Yeah, there's a lot of collaboration that happens within our department, and that's really helpful to us to just get that work environment building within ourselves. I was really lucky, and over COVID, I got an internship at a place called the Artery, and I was remote for the first part until we kind of gradually went in person, and I was able to get the experience of like, what does a studio feel like? How do I work with other people? And they were super nice to me and adjusted their hours to me as a student that I was able to work with them while I was studying during my junior year, like the first semester. And that's like my internship experience. I've had a lot of friends that they get interviewed by like DreamWorks and Pixar and all these really cool names, but there's so many companies here in New York City that you probably haven't heard of yet, and they also offer so many opportunities as well. My next question for you guys is, what is your favorite class and project done so far?
Mine probably definitely has to be in my sophomore year in the spring semester, I took a class called Lighting and Rendering. So it teaches you all of the basics about lighting a scene and how to like output it to render. And our final project, I think it was the first thing on my reel, the diner scene. It was really fun. I got to play with not only lighting, like a very night scene with some neon lighting, but also with set dressing, which is really kind of akin to a lot of my interests.
Oh, so my favorite class would be, I think for my freshman year, narrative workshop. As much as like the technical classes have also been really helpful, I took an advanced animation class and also a game design class. I feel like narrative workshop is basically like a story class. It teaches you how to storyboard and write a story. You make 2 stories all the way through. But I feel like for me, that's been really helpful to kind of learn how to write. I also met one of my mentors through there who I ended up working with in the summer. And overall, I think that class has been very helpful for my growth, because I feel like other than that, it kind of gives you a start for how to like write on your own. So like after you take that class, you can kind of take those skills and continue working later in the summer or whenever you want to keep developing that, because when you get to your thesis film, you're going to have to use those skills again anyway, and you'll have more classes to like hone that down. But I think that was a really good start for me.
Yeah, I would also pick the narrative workshop class where I got to build storytelling skills. And from my demo reel, I had storyboards and some keyframes from those import the key scenes from the story, which I like expanded even more like over the summer after my first year, and worked on it. And yeah, the class really helped me to really build that skills in the creative side.
I relate to all that. My class was also like the lighting and rendering class I took, because before then I was like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to concentrate on? And then I realized that when you put color and texture on things, things suddenly look amazing. So after I took that class, I was like, I found what I want to do. And it was really helpful because the teachers are all adjunct. So like the person was coming after their long work day, and they had this fresh information in their brain, and they would come and like give us that. And I was like, all right, now I know how I'm going to be treated when I'm in a studio. And my favorite project would have to be my thesis film. Something when I was like researching about SVA in schools is like, which one allows you to be the most creative person possible to do what you want to do. I always wanted to create a Puerto Rican short film, and this was a place that allowed me to do that. So I spent the past 2 years working on that from beginning to end, and it's like my baby, and I love her so much. So it was really worth it all in the end. So yeah, those are my favorite projects. My next and last question for you guys, I think, before we can open it to the public, are what are the teachers like here at SVA, and who's been your favorite teacher so far in your experience as a student here?
The teachers here are amazing. It is generally one of the reasons why I chose to go to SVA, hearing that they were all adjunct and coming from in-industry experiences. Not only that they just hold so much knowledge, it's kind of insane sometimes. I'm like, can I do that someday? They're also just just wonderful people, so nice and understanding, and you can generally just talk to them about anything. Like me and one of my thesis professor last Tuesday had just a whole conversation on like the Mario movie that just came out. So it's stuff like that you can break into conversations within the classroom, and it's just a really wonderful environment. I'd say my favorite professor is probably my computer animation 3 and 4, Alex Chebarov. I think he was one of the featured alumni. I think he knows everything. I can ask him a question and he'll know the answer to it, and I've learned things from character modeling to environment modeling to lighting, and I've just gotten so much out of his class. It's absolutely amazing.
For me, I think my favorite professor would be, again, my narrative workshop teacher, Christopher Mouch. He worked on storyboarding for Fantastic Mr. Fox, but a few other things as well. But he really was supportive of me. He kind of took me like under his wing as we went into the summer. He like reached out to me through email and he was like, "Do you want to work on like this project I'm working on?" And that happens kind of a lot where professors, if you show that you are really hungry for like information, they will kind of take you and ask you to help them work, and then you get a chance to work on stuff in the actual industry and you get to learn even more just on the side. And I think for him, he's been really supportive of me, along with another professor, Eric Reinfield, who some of you will probably run into. He's been here for a while. But yeah, he's also been really supportive. And I think a good thing about the SVA professors is that they really push you if you show that you want to learn. So, and I think that's like really helpful because it can really just skyrocket how fast you get stronger.
My favorite professor would be Christina Farage from my second year computer art animation class. She used to work at Pixar. She's as a set dresser, and now she's at Method Studio. She's super supportive, and that really allowed me to she really pushed me to do whatever I want to do. So that allowed me to make the piece that I love the most, the barbershop that was on the screen earlier. And she's really, really sweet.
Yeah, a lot of our professors here, as you've heard, they're like working in the industry and they make so much time for the students. Like you'll email them out of office hours. Sometimes I've emailed professors at 2 a.m. and then I get a response at 2:15 a.m. And that's just kind of like how supportive they are as well. For me, my favorite professor would have to be Adam Myers. I took him like my sophomore and like freshman year, and his class was the one that made me like really emotionally prepare myself for the work that was going to come along the way, because he just gave her so much good homework that like made me schedule my time a lot better, and it was during COVID. So I'm really grateful to have a professor that like sort of prepared us for these next steps that I carry skills with me till now, till I'm a senior. So yeah, those are all the questions I'm going to ask, and we can open it up now to other people.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm Nisha. I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Admissions. So we'll take some questions, but after that, we will all be walking over to the department to see the amazing facilities. If there is anyone who would like to take a shuttle bus there, just let me know, and then I'll arrange one for you. But we'll take our first question from this side. Don't be afraid to ask.
You guys are all amazing. I just want to ask you when you first come into this program, how you find balance doing academics, your artwork, being able to also enjoy the city, like for all its incoming students. How did you find that transitioning into this program?
Any of you guys want to go first?
Oh, okay. I think for me, the first thing I kind of got acclimated to was the computer labs. You'll probably see it on the tour, but there's a computer lab that's kind of open to all students, and in that room you kind of meet a lot of the people that you will like be with for the next 4 years. I've definitely met a lot of my friends there and a lot of people I consider my mentors there. That's like where you get work done, but it's also where you can make a lot of relationships. And I think it's like, I don't know if I'd say it's making time, because the city is also kind of around that building, but I think for like us at least, that's the building you would spend the most time in as far as your work, and it definitely kind of helps you. It's like smoothens your transition.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar about the free time labs that we have, is where I spent a lot of time and met a lot of my friends, and we would kind of go there to meet up and hang out away from our dorm rooms that we're in, but then also we would like make sure to take a break and go get like dinner down the road, or like even go like out to like another area of Manhattan to go get food and then come back and do work. So it's a really nice like, I guess, like home base for all of us.
I also agree. I'm a commuter student. I don't know if there's any other commuter students here, but for me, like one thing I struggled with when I was a freshman was like, oh my God, everyone lives in the dorms. They're having events. They're having fun without me. And so I was a little antisocial in that front, and I even wouldn't stay in the labs. Like I would just come, go home. So my advice to you guys is stick around. Maybe you'll be getting home a little later than you want to. Maybe your parents are going to worry, but that's how you end up making friends. And that's how I went to different club sessions. That's how I got to meet professors and people outside of my comfort zone. And then even during COVID, we had a lot of events virtually and online where we got to meet other students as well. So the city's all around us. You end up traveling to the train station together. I would walk with my friends down 23rd and they'll drop me off at like the Q train and they'll keep going to the dorms. They'll get on the bus together. So everything around you is that community and it just kind of gets stronger over time. It's a little nerve-wracking at first, but you will definitely get situated.
Yeah, from the 23rd Street dorm, I walked to the SBA West Building, and it's like 20-minute walk, and with my friends, and I go to class and work at the labs for a bit, and then when I walk back, there's Madison Square Park where I stop by and draw for like 2 hours, and just, I guess that's my way to like romanticize the city.
The city is your campus.
Any questions from this side of the room?
Okay, wait, I have to. Okay, so what really inspires or influences your art?
For me, it's my culture. I think you guys saw from like my reel down to the music, down to like the things that I did in my film. I am pretty much creating mostly Puerto Rican art and things that are within that identity that I have. And something that, the reason I do that is because it's not really common to have that kind of media, like in 3D and CG in general. So having the opportunity to do that, I'm constantly like learning about myself, my identity, my community of people, and creating art that kind of like is rooted from that. So that's something that has definitely pushed me. Like I'll be listening to Bad Bunny for hours. Not the greatest example, but that's how I got through most of the months. And that's how you get inspiration from things and people around you. So that's for me, like definitely where I come from. I'm always doing something around that.
I tend to take a lot of inspiration from my childhood, I think a lot, because part of the reason why I went into this field was just to make anyone kind of smile. And a lot of the times things from my childhood, you know, remind me of that. So influencing, that influences a lot of how I think I go about my 3D work.
For me, I would say, at first I would say I'm inspired also by my childhood. I didn't mention my project, but I'm also working on a short film, which is what I was working on in the summer, which is just like, it's a racing story with children, and I really want to just make something fun. And I'd say like my second inspiration would definitely be the upperclassmen. Seeing their work all the time and like in constant rotation always kind of gives me like something to look forward to. I'm like, okay, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to get to. And I think that's always been very inspiring to be around because you get it immediately sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with Sar. Like, just I went to the thesis screening on Monday. It was just really inspiring to watch all the films, and because I would have to make a thesis film for next year, for senior year, and yeah, it was really inspiring seeing upperclassmen.
Also, like the mentors and like the teachers here, because some of them are like SV alumni and they come back to teach as well. But like people outside of like the network, like I got to meet a bunch of different artists that maybe they don't teach here, but like they're on LinkedIn, they're on Instagram, they're posting their artwork, and it's like, you were here like 5 years ago and you're making that, like that's so cool. Or you were here 10 years ago and you're across the world and you're working on like Marvel, like I want to be like you. So all of that stuff is super inspiring as well for the work that you create.
Any questions on this side?
So, what are your dream jobs like in the future? What are you guys working towards? And how are your classes helping you prepare your personal projects to work towards that future job?
I would love to be, so I'm not really sure exactly what, but definitely a modeler, whether that be character or environment, I'm not sure yet. I'm not really sure where, but I've made sure when I take a lot of classes that are, specialized towards modeling. So when we got to pick our like computer animation 2, 3, 4 professors, I looked at like their LinkedIn pages or their personal websites and saw who was kind of doing the work that I wanted to do and picked those professors based on that. And I could say I've really learned a lot.
Oh, okay. My dream job would be to be a character technical director. The one of the people that we showed earlier, Daniela Dweck, is actually already in that position at Pixar. And after, seeing other people's work enough, it'll kind of help you shape what you want to be. I think actually Brittany was one who even helped me. I remember like last year I was like, what do I want to do? I know I want to do characters and not environment, but I don't want to just do texturing or modeling. I kind of want to do all of it. And then Brittany was like, oh, that's a character generalist. And then eventually I was like, okay, well then I want to be a character technical director. And then you kind of, figure out what skills you exactly need to get there. And I think for classes, we actually have free workshops, which I've been taking 2 of them this semester, where it's literally like 8 classes. So it's like, I want to say half the semester. And you get to take a really hardcore rigging course or lighting course. I think there was another Houdini course, which is like more VFX oriented. But those on top of your regular computer animation classes will really kind of help you find exactly what you want to do.
My dream job would be to become a set dresser or a look development artist. And the instructor that I mentioned earlier, Christina Farage, really helped me to gain strength in that aspect, to how to like set dress and how to make the scene like so believable. Like so as soon as we like add the characters in that environment, it would be like a really believable world. Yeah.
For me, I think like I'm like in terms of year plans. So like in 5 years, I want to be a lighting artist. I want to be working somewhere making things look pretty. But I think further down the line, I definitely want to like create my own little studio somewhere. It could be in Puerto Rico, it could be here in the city, and just get a lot of artists and we could all work together on really cool projects. And I definitely didn't think about that before. Like when I came here and I was sitting with like where you guys are, I was like, I want to work at Pixar. That's the only place I want to work. But then I realized like the world is so big and there's so many different places that you're like, your possibilities are definitely beyond just one place. So yeah.
Let's take one more question. I also left the wrong slide up, but so Brittany's name has been up there forever. But anyway, one more question, if there's a good one out there.
There's one up here.
So I definitely feel like I have more experience with like physical drawing and stuff, and I'm not that well versed in like the terms of like digital and computer. Do you feel like it's an easy transition, or are there like a lot of learning curves that I should be like prepared to get used to?
There are a lot of learning curves, but I would say that your freshman year really prepares you for it. Like they're gonna take it at a very like base level and show you everything from the ground up. And I was also more versed in, digital drawing or like physical drawing, and I really don't feel like I had that much of a problem getting into it. It is a learning curve because it is like a whole new world. But the department definitely helps, and you have your students like in that free time lab we were talking about, like you have all the students around saying like, how do I move this cube, and you all like figure it out together, or you ask like lab assistants who are also in the lab who are students who work there and upperclassmen, and they can help you out and show you around stuff like that.
It definitely wasn't an easy transition for me because I originally thought about doing 2D animation, like a lot of drawing involved in it. So it was very hard for me to even learn what an edge loop was. And I think in my second year, I actually really grasped kind of know and what I'm doing in Maya. But you'll get to see how much progress you make along the way, and the classes definitely help you. So I don't think you'll have to worry.
For me, I had a little bit of experience already, but I also had a 2D animation background. I was going to do that before I learned about 3D, and then I was like, oh, okay, I want to do this instead. But I think, the learning curve was definitely kind of confusing. I remember I wanted to do B because I wanted a brush in Maya, and then it made the whole screen kind of explode, and it's not like Photoshop. But I think one good thing about having a traditional art experience is that it'll make it easier for you to design stuff in 3D. And I think all of the 2D animation and illustration background I had definitely made it easier to design. And there's also look dev and other paths in 3D that are pretty reliant on that type of skill. So I think it's still very helpful.
Yeah, I also agree. Freshman year, like something that helped me prepare a lot was like you take that drawing class and you need to know how to do at least like a pencil line so that you can translate those ideas from 2D that you're drawing in your sketchbook in the corners of your page into a 3D space, into a VFX space. So the working of it, like I think was really well planned out by SVA, just like the classes that you take. It is a little bit difficult. Like I had to figure out like what a Wacom was and how to use like a Wacom pen. It's different than like using your regular sketchbook. But you do learn those things with each assignment. It's not like thrown at you like really fast. It's every class you get an assignment and you learn a little bit more, and it becomes easier with the passage of time. And the next thing you know, you're like doing it so fast you don't even think about it anymore. So yeah, cool.
Thank you, everyone. You can leave the mics there, but if you could bring the chairs over. Yeah, thank you, and thank you. Before we wrap up, I do have one more thing to show you, and then after that, we'll get some directions from admissions on what's next. But as we were mentioning, thank you. As we were mentioning before, the seniors handed in their thesis films last week. I did chair reviews with them all. On Monday, we screened it for our industry guests, and next week we are doing an online screening for our industry guests. It's all still like password protected. This summer, we'll put those online, so you have a chance probably in June to see this year's thesis films. We're also doing a screening here for friends and family at the end of May that's open to the public, so if any of you live locally and you're interested, you can find that information on our website as well. But I did want to play one thesis film for you today. It's not Brittany's. I wish it was Brittany's because hers is amazing and we talked a lot about it today, but I did have another one that I thought would be a little more energetic and a good thing to end on. And so we'll watch that, and then admissions will tell us the next steps for the rest of our day. But thank you all for joining us today. I do think the next thing is we're going over for department tours, and we have some more of our students here that will be there, and you can talk to even more of our students at those tours. But again, thank you for coming, and yeah, let's check out this film.
All right, thank you all. I hope you're all excited for the department tour so you can hopefully be part of these amazing presentations in the future. So we're actually all going to be taking the shuttles. So I'm going to ask the student tour guys just to come up front, please. All right, I'm gonna ask the first two rows just to get up and pick up everything because we're not coming back to the theater. Okay, these two rows.